Morning, baseball friends. I'm so glad that you could join me here live to discuss what's next. What's next? What's next? I think first, before we really get into anything, is let's take a moment to appreciate the fact that what's next isn't spring training. Our favorite baseball team won their division, is still playing baseball games. So round of applause to the boys. Tip of the cap to the boys. Feels good. It feels good. You don't get this every year. You don't get this every year. It's nothing's guaranteed. So as much as we are going to focus on this first round of the playoffs, this wild card round series against Toronto, I did want to take just a moment so we could reflect upon that. And the Twins clinched a ways back. They've just been sort of coasting here as we've getting prepped into the postseason, which was very well evident by the finish of today's game at Colorado. We won't discuss that though. We won't discuss that. So let me bring the chat in here. I know there was already some chat going on, which I love. Absolutely love seeing that. If you've not been on one of these live streams, I'm going to talk, but as always, I encourage a lot of discussion beyond that going on. Let me get a nice background. Which way to get? We should have target field in some respect. I think this is from a few years back, as you can see by the normal size scoreboard, but we'll get that up there. So yeah, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for joining me. Again, we're gonna discuss this matchup with the Toronto Blue Jays, who are going to be coming into town, and it's going to be interesting to see if the Twins sound chippy at all in the media, in any comments, because the Blue Jays certainly didn't push real hard. We'll put it that way at the end here. They've been, and it might pay off. It might end up looking very smart. But they had a couple of their main starting pitchers they probably could have rolled with on these last couple of games, and they decided to kind of hold those back instead. So thanks for everybody for coming on by. Again, we're going to take a look at this matchup. And again, if you missed it, all the games are at 3:38 p.m. Well, for now, the first and second game will definitely be at 3:38 p.m. on Tuesday and Wednesday. So if you were wondering when the games were going to be, and again, that's a challenging thing. I got a gnat in here. I apologize. That's the challenging thing about the kind of turnaround in the postseason. Obviously, games started on Tuesday. We just found out, like, I don't know, what was it, a couple hours ago, that the game time. So yeah, it's a challenge, but I'm going to do this again. I did this on Twitter. I encourage you, if you can find a way, if it works for you. I know it's difficult, again, such a short notice with everybody's work or school or kids' schedules or things like that. And that's beyond the fact that the games are just a little bit more expensive in the playoffs. That's a reality of it too. But man, if you can swing it, if you can find a way, if you were on the fence, I want to urge you to go out, grab a ticket, because and this is respect to the Blue Jays fans. That team travels extremely well. If you've been to a game where the Twins are playing the Blue Jays at Target Field, some games it's felt about 50-50, to be honest with you, between Blue Jays fans and Twins fans. So if you can swing it, I would encourage you, and you've been on the fence, I would encourage you to try to find a way, because we need you there. And I know that's been some of the discussion of this week as well, as we've been gearing up for the playoffs, is Twins Target Field playoff vibes, whatever. Be there. Just be there if you can. I'm not going to judge you. If you can be there and keep a Blue Jays fan out of the stadium, that's, I think, a huge plus on our side. So, but again, cheers to the Twins on winning the division. Cheers to the Twins on advancing. We're not done. Most teams are done now. Gotta appreciate that as well. All right. So I do have some breakdowns of how the Twins and Blue Jays kind of stack up against each other. But I want to first have a real quick discussion on taking these things with a bit of a grain of salt. I should mention, though, I will be at games 1 and 2. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure on my pregame activities yet. Twins Daily's having some pregame activities at the Poorhouse, which is not far from Target Field. I would like to attend those if I can, but again, with things being tight, I don't know my exact availability yet. But I will be at the games. If you see me there, definitely say hi. I'll probably be like a mess. I'll probably be just a stressed ball. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. But I thought this was kind of an interesting tweet that I want to share from Andrew Ludke. There we go. On Twitter. And it kind of parlays in. I want to point this out before we get into our main conversation. He points out that people forget Trevor Larnach was the Twins opening day cleanup hitter. He pointed that out, I think, not long after Larnach hit a grand slam. Now, why would I mention that? This was the Twins opening day lineup. So it was Larnach 4, Miranda 5, Nick Gordon 6, Joey Gallo 7. I mean, how weird is that to look back upon now? And Toronto similarly has overgone some changes as the season's gone on. So I want to point that out first because we're going to have a discussion and look at some of the year-to-date stats coming into today. I don't have the up-to-date ones, but obviously you get 161 games of the 162 game season. The numbers are going to be pretty close. But I wanted to point that out in that, yes, we can look at these numbers from the full season. And yeah, I do feel like it's pretty fair to say that these are pretty representative of these teams. But man, these teams evolve so much throughout a 6-month season. And, I just want to put that out there that just because these are the numbers doesn't mean these are the teams that we're going to see this week. So, and you may get a sense that I'm kind of trying to tone these down in terms of like a Twins fan trying to pump the brakes, but actually a lot of these benefit the Twins. Let's see here. First off, I can't really tell what I'm looking at on some of my previews. Bear with me here. So let's just take a look at overall records and then kind of their recent records. Yes, the Blue Jays do have a better record than the Twins despite being the third wild card team, but it's only by 2 games. The Twins' home record is slightly better than the Blue Jays' road record, but man, the Blue Jays have done very well on the road. That's probably one of the better road records in baseball. I would imagine 11 games over 500 on the road is pretty damn impressive for the Blue Jays. In the second half, the Twins do hold a slight advantage over Toronto and in September/October today. 1 game in October. The Twins also hold a slight advantage there. So, while the Blue Jays have been a better team by a couple games, the Twins have been better in the second half and have been better of late, although it's very close there for sure. Taking a look at some more numbers here. What's next? We have pitching numbers. And we all know how good the Twins pitching staff has been, but the Blue Jays have had really good pitching as well. And here's kind of a breakdown of a lot of the numbers I like, a lot of the stats I like. If you're not super familiar with like FIP, XFIP, Sierra, these are kind of ERA predictors, estimators you can think, but it's kind of crazy. As you can see here, there's a really good argument to be made that these are 2 of the best pitching staffs in all of baseball. Kind of crazy to think about that, but yeah. And the bottom 2 numbers are for bullpen specific. The rest of the numbers are for the entire pitching staffs that I'm sharing here. Blue Jays certainly seem to hold an advantage with the bullpen. Their ERA is better, but basically any other, ERA indicator, ERA predictor you can look like has the Twins with an advantage. Twins led all of baseball in strikeout minus walk percentage, which is a stat I really like. So that is how the pitching lines up. And then hitting wise, yay numbers. Chris, thanks for stopping by. Yeah, we're running through some numbers. Might overlay these again if I've got rants to go on and you don't need to look. But offensive wise, I would say it's pretty It's pretty fair to say comfortably that the Twins are like a top 10 lineup. And I don't know if you can say that about the Blue Jays in terms of their performance. We'll maybe get a little bit more on that in a minute. But on base percentage, Blue Jays have the advantage, but slugging, weighted on base average, WRC plus, offensive value at Fangraphs, defensive value at Fangraphs goes to Blue Jays by a wide margin, however. But base running, the Twins kind of take an advantage there. And then just overall offensive Fangraphs war, the Blue Jays do have the advantage there. So, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Do want to point out one more time, again, these teams have evolved a ton as the year's gone on. A lot of the contributors now were, or vice versa too. A lot of the guys who were regulars in the lineups earlier this year are not now, but, I think we have ways that we can look at and, look at this and say, I think Twins match up pretty good with the Blue Jays. I will anticipate that pretty much every outlet is probably going to favor the Blue Jays. Take that for what it's worth. Pretty much every betting. If any of you guys pay attention to the betting line stuff and now those are out, let me know. But I assume that pretty much every betting line is going to give the advantage to the Blue Jays. I don't know if you can really make a super strong case for that based off of the year-to-date numbers. Now, maybe what's an additional sort of grain of salt. We're going to take a look at the pitching matchups I'm guessing on so far. We don't know for sure what's going down, but as far as the Twins, I think let me pull it up. As far as the Twins, I think we know what's going down because Bailey Ober started today. I don't think that means he's going to be in play for game 3. So I think it's for the Twins. It's going to be Pablo Lopez, Sonny Gray, and Joe Ryan. For the Blue Jays, I believe it'll be Kevin Gausman, Jose Barrios, and Yusei Kikuchi is how I think they're going to do it. But Chris Bassett also is in play for really any of these games as well. So I'm not sure, who they prefer. And kind of our old buddy Jose Barrios and Yusei Kikuchi, both of those guys. And Kikuchi's the left-hander. That's kind of why I think they might go lean on him. But we'll see. It'll be interesting. We're not even gonna know these rosters, I bet, until like very close to first pitch on game 1. I don't think we're gonna know these rosters. Obviously the Twins have Carlos Correa, Royce Lewis, and Byron Buxton that they're kind of monitoring. I'm sure the Blue Jays have some guys that are kind of on the fence like that as well. But it's going to be late. It's going to be late on Tuesday, I bet, when we get the rosters. But those are my guesses on the starting pitching. And I think Jose Barrios and Yusei Kikuchi to some degree is sort of an interesting conversation to move into with the Blue Jays. It's really weird. A lot of their guys who were bad last year were good this year. And a lot of their guys who were good last year were either bad or not as good this year. It's a weird team in that regard. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was not nearly as good this year as he was last year. Now, does that mean he doesn't strike some fear in me? No, because I think his true talent is above probably what he's done. This is probably closer to what he did last year. Barrios and Kikuchi were garbage last year for Toronto, really terrible. And they've been great this season. They have a few other guys that have kind of been disappointing. Alek Manoah, he's not even in the picture at all. He was, their best pitcher last year, one of the best pitchers really in baseball last year. And a young guy, that's a great, try to predict baseball story right there. Young pitcher has a great season, and now he's just totally off the map. So, they had a weird season. You could certainly see if they get, if they're guys that have played better this year, play well, and then they're guys that had kind of down years this year, played better. You could totally see the Blue Jays making a big run. Totally. Okay. So there are some places that are favoring the Twins. That's good to see. There is the home field advantage, and I did point out that Toronto's been really good on the road, really good road team. And you know, when we were looking at the four teams that it was potentially going to be earlier, with Texas, Seattle, and Houston thrown in there as well, I didn't really look at anybody and say like that's the team I really want to play. I felt like they're all pretty good teams. Um, you know, and especially Seattle with the pitching, I felt like they kind of had a chance to maybe play up in the postseason. They missed the postseason. Excuse me here, one sec. Thought I had a sneeze coming, but I didn't. Harrison, the Blue Jays pitching staff is first in the majors in ERA. So let's say it like it is. In ERA. So that doesn't really mean that they're the first pitching staff in baseball necessarily. Yeah, there aren't going to, Aaron points out, there aren't going to be any easy matchups going forward. I agree. But at the same time, like, I think the Twins can hang with Toronto. I think the Twins can hang with Houston, who is kind of who's waiting to win, to play whoever wins this series. So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. Yeah, the Twins have been really good at home, especially compared to how they've been on the road. They've played really well at home. Let's see. Did I have one more? I don't think I had one more thing, but yeah, I think the Twins match up pretty well. I think these pitching, and again, I'm not 100% sure. I'm very confident on the Twins side, but I'm not as confident on the Blue Jays side, how they're going to run through things. I think Gausman's going to be the game one starter. But either way, the Twins have had, I didn't pull these numbers, but I know the Twins have had success against Kevin Gausman, and the Twins have had success against Jose Barrios. So, you know, even though those guys have had great seasons, yeah, oh, thank you. Right when I mentioned that, looks like John brings that information in. And the Twins are, yeah, so the Twins have crushed him. Thanks for bringing that to the table. And the Twins are 3-3 against the Blue Jays this year. Again, you know, these were in, I believe they played in like late May and then mid-June. So it's been a really long time since these teams have played, and a lot of changes since then. But I feel like that's, you know, you'd like to have the fact that you played a team pretty well rather than you didn't play well against them. So, you know, and the Twins had played well against Houston too. So, Noah says he heard on the radio broadcast that Maeda would open game 3. That might depend on, I bet you that's on the table. That might depend on whether or not they need him in game 1 or 2. You know, he's been pitching out of the bullpen, but he's been throwing. It's not like they've been using him like Louis Varland, and it's been shorter. They had him throw like 60 some pitches. This is Kenta Maeda I'm talking about. So it's like they didn't really like, he's still stretched out basically. So it could be interesting to see how it goes. It'll depend, you know, how Kenta's availability is, if they need him or not, you know, in game 1 or 2. But that's certainly on the table. You know, once it gets, if it gets to game 3, like, you know, obviously elimination game, all hands on deck. You know, we could see that in game 2 as well, but I love Kenta. I think a lot of people know I love Kenta. I love his spirit. That guy competes his ass off. I will, whatever role he's pitching in, however they're going to use him, I'm going to have good feelings about Kenta coming into a ball game in the postseason. I just think we're going to get his best. He's going to play up to the moment. He's pitched in a lot of big games, both here and in Japan. But yeah, he's not a guy who's going to have difficulties in the moment. I'm very confident. Yeah, some discussion about how it's going to be a lot of Blue Jays fans. We got to do our best. We got to do our best to fill this place, because that team is going to travel really well. There's going to be a lot of Toronto fans in town this week. So we shall see. Would there be any scenario in which Maeda might pitch twice? Probably not, but yeah, it's hard to envision him throwing on 1-day rest. Jorge Alcala, I thought he looked great today, and I love him. I'm a huge fan of his. I think it's a little bit tricky to try to put him on the roster, partly because I think the Twins should prioritize kind of having a lot of bats. I think this offense is, I do think this offense works best when they are platooning. I'm backing on that. I don't think that's always the case. I don't think you always want to platoon guys. I think the way that this particular lineup and this particular team is built, I'm on board with the platooning. I think they want to stack the bats, and I think that's going to challenge. I think that's going to be a challenge to get Alcala on the roster over, potentially another bench bat. But he looked great today. That was really encouraging to see. Obviously, he's a guy who is in the pictures more long term, maybe not super long term, but for next year. So that was just a great sign to see from Alcala. Yeah, I think I'm confident enough to say, and counterpoint. What would you expect me to say? I'm very confident that the streak ends. I'm not as confident that the Twins are going to take the series, but I think the Twins are going to win the series. I think the Twins will match up well with Toronto. We looked at all the numbers. I think they stack up well. No disrespect to this Toronto team, though. This is a really good team. This is a team that was built to win. This is a team that has a lot of depth as well as the Twins. This is a team that plays the field extremely well. But I feel good. I feel good about it. I feel good about this Twins team. And if they can get past Toronto, Houston doesn't scare me that much. I think the top of their roster is phenomenal. I think they have some guys that are matchup issues for the Twins. They have their top 5 players on that team are just phenomenal. But I think they really lack a lot of depth. And we're not going to get into Houston too much. They're just sort of looking ahead as an overall postseason, mapping things out. But it's not that hard for me to envision the Twins going to the ALCS. And then, we'll see what comes out of the other side of the bracket. Obviously, we got to get past Toronto first. Got to get, first things first. Got to beat the streak. Got to get past Toronto. So I know some of you are thinking it's kind of ridiculous to even be thinking about Houston. But I like the way this Twins team ranks up. And, if you look at some of the rankings on here, again, let's, just throw out the comparison for a moment, because the Blue Jays are a really good team as well. But you look at some of these rankings for the Twins. This is a really damn good pitching staff. This is a really damn good pitching staff. This is a good lineup. I believe. So I'm gonna be pretty positive. I'm excited. To be out at Target Field this week. Yeah, I think there is an argument to be made that the American League is a lot weaker than the National League this year. And that definitely could benefit a team like the Twins. I think Correa, Lewis, and Buxton will all be in the lineup. Yes. Now, I'm not on the training staff. I don't have any inside information from the training staff. But we'll break it down individually. Correa, I think there's never really been a whole lot of concern that's been out that he would miss it. And they've sort of been talking about how they're being proactive about it. I think he's the most important one to me, and that might surprise some of you guys, but his shortstop defense, that is so important. I think to the Twins. He's played tremendous shortstop all year. Obviously, kind of maybe a half step behind his usual performance, but that's still a really damn good shortstop. And I think he was looking better at certain points at the plate. I think, this guy's proven many, many times over that he can turn it on in the postseason, that he is not someone who's going to fold when the bright lights come on. So Correa is paramount to me. Lewis, obviously, it's been ridiculous. And I believe in this guy, man. This guy will move mountains. This guy will move mountains to be in that lineup. Big love for Royce Lewis. Such a believer in him as a person and a ball player. I think Royce is going to be in the field. Maybe not for a full 9 innings, maybe not on back-to-back games, but I could see him playing 7 innings in the field in game 1 and then DHing in game 2. Something like that. He's not going to be a full go, Royce. I don't expect. Again, I don't have any inside information though. I wouldn't put it past him. I wouldn't put it past Royce Lewis to play every inning of these games. He's that special. And I know he's got the hamstring injury was It's a pretty serious deal, but it doesn't sound like, and that's with all three of these injuries. It does not sound like any of these three guys playing on their injuries is going to put them at a worse position to have like a longer term issue. It sounds like from what I'm kind of heard and read, it sounds like the Twins playing any of these three guys, Correa, Lewis, or Buxton, it's not as if, oh boy, they can't play him because if they further stress out that injury, they could miss a huge surgery where they're going to miss a full season. I haven't heard any of that kind of suggestion. So it's like, what kind of things, how limited are they? Obviously, that's kind of the biggest question. Twins want to know what can you give us? Can you give us more than these other guys that we have that are options? That's what they're trying to figure out. And then number two, how much can we expect you to manage that pain? Are you going to be able to go out there, but then game 2, we just can't use you? You need a full day off. Then maybe it gets difficult to make that decision. In a 3-game series, it's a challenge. Byron Buxton, I know he's been the guy that's really been like hurt the longest. I don't think they would have, and I know he was only back with St. Paul a very short time before their season ended, but I don't think they would have reactivated his rehab assignment with the Saints if they weren't pretty confident that he was feeling well. So I'm approaching him from that standpoint that, man, if he was healthy enough to be reactive with the Saints, he's certainly going to be available in some regard. Now, again, whether that's, can you play a whole 9 innings? I would be shocked if Byron Buxton plays in the field. That would surprise me. I think I'm more optimistic about Buxton's health than a lot of people, but I would still be pretty surprised if he can play the field. But even as a platoon bat, Byron Buxton, I think, is super valuable because this team has not hit lefties very well. I don't think Byron's really hit lefties well this year. And he has fairly even platoon splits, if I'm remembering correctly. But some of these left-handed bats on the Twins are terrible against lefties. So even him having even platoon splits against lefties is a big advantage over some of the other options that they have. So I think Byron as a DH against lefties and a pinch hitter against lefties late in the game, even this year with his knee injury that he's been dealing with, he has the fastest sprint speed on the Twins. Fastest guy in the Twins, even faster than Andrew Stevenson. So, depending on how the knee is. Again, I don't know. I have no idea. I can't really say, but injured Byron Buxton all this year was still the fastest guy in the team. So I still think he also could be a base running threat. I just think there's plenty that he brings to the table. Now, I think he would be one of the last guys that you're looking at adding to the roster. I don't think it's like a complete slam dunk. Since I don't think he's going to be able to play the field, I don't think you can trust him to play the field. It's just, I think that's too much to dream on, I guess. But I think I would bet on all three of them being active. I really would. I love the chat. I was trying to catch up on the chat a bit. I love that there are additional conversations going on. That was that awkward pause. I see we got a troll in the comments. That's fine. When you win ball games and you go to the playoffs, you're going to get trolls. That's just that's what happens. Cole asks, when does the roster come out? I would expect at the last minute that it has to, which I think is not long before the first game on Tuesday. However long that they have the Twins, they're gonna put the roster in .000. It's gonna be like a Mission Impossible movie or a James Bond movie where they're defusing the bomb. It's counting down 3, 2, 1, and then the Twins will submit the playoff roster. Because a lot of the things are going to depend on how the guys are feeling that day. They're going to evaluate those guys that day, I'm sure, and they're going to make a decision on some of these guys the day of the game. I think that's how tight this is for the Twins. So yeah, I would not expect the rosters to be released anytime before Tuesday for sure. I'll officially predict that the streak is ending in game 1. I'm going to go for it. I'm just going to go for it. I feel good about it. Pablo Lopez, that's our guy. He's the guy to deliver us from this streak. Again, and the Twins have just crushed Kevin Gausman. As good as he is, and that's a damn good pitcher, Kevin Gausman. But the Twins have had his number. You know, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Yeah, what streak? The streak that the winning streak that we're starting? Is that what we're talking about here? Is that the streak that we're referring to? Where do I get that shirt? I gotta show. I'll show it out. I got it at Target Field. It was 75% off too, so I don't think these will be probably available any longer. I'm guessing, selling a shirt of a long since gone manager maybe wasn't the hot seller in the Twins shops. I'm not sure. I like it though. I think it's cool. Yeah, Andy, I like it. 18 straight playoff game winning streak starts Tuesday. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, nice. Dawson will be at the game as well. Game 1. Oh yeah, I don't have the Zubas though. I have twin Zubas, but I'm not wearing them. Maybe I should be Tom Kelly for Halloween. That would be good. That would be good. Just wear this shirt and some Zubas. Just carry around a ball and a big ass stogie. I'm sure somebody's done it, right? That'd be a good one. I don't know when the awards come out. I do have a Homer hanky. Where is that thing? I don't know where I put it. It's probably. Oh, I'll be right back. Yeah, baby. We believe. We believe. It's actually a hanky now too. I don't know. Those of you who had got them the past couple of years, it was more like a rally towel. It had like a terry cloth feel to it, which I guess objectively it was like a thicker material, maybe felt nicer. But this is a hanky. This is a Homer hanky. This is what I want a Homer hanky to feel like. I feel like I'm like the Twins shopping network right now, showing off all of my Target Field. Go ahead on over to the Target Field shop. They should be giving me like a promo code or something for you guys to use. This is not sponsored, to be clear. But yeah, $4. If you haven't picked one of these up yet, I think they're available at Cub and they'll be at the team store. They'll print out, a billion of these things. So they sell them for $4 and it's like a little thin sheet of cloth with a little printing on it. So they're going to make sure to get as much money as they can out of these bad boys. But I love it. I'm very, very, very pleased. And then if you're wondering why the red, I didn't look into this, but I heard somewhere that Major League Baseball actually said you can't have white ones. You can't sell the white anymore, just to limit the potential of having a bunch of a hitter's background. Harder time to pick up the pitches, so they're not supposed to make the white anymore. Yeah, like they make and it's kind of ridiculous because every stadium has such a nice batter's eye, and we can't have the actual trees out in Target Field. I do like the living wall with all of the plants. That is cool. I do like that. That was a good compromise. But I don't know. I'm not out here trying to hit major league pitching. So, I guess I'm not one to say, but I like the red. I like the red. It's certainly not a classic. It doesn't feel like the old school Homer hankies of yesteryear, but it's a good design. I like it. $4. I have no idea why they get to do it in Coors Field and we can't. I don't know. No idea. Yeah, the Saints batter's eye is cool with the ivy. I'm not sure technically if that's ivy or not, but they have some kind of a creeping growth on that wall. It's beautiful. Kind of looks different throughout the year too, which is really cool. Yeah, and again, if you bring your old hankies, sure. Yeah, why not? Absolutely. That's probably worth cycling through those numbers again, just in case. I know, like, if I have more of a video on demand, I always think, oh, if we go too fast through this stuff, people can just pause it. But obviously, if we're here hanging out live, I know some of you are watching on replay at this point, but let's just do that one more time. Just to throw it out there. So again, records wise, yes, the Blue Jays have a little bit of a better record than the Twins. The Twins have been great at home. The Blue Jays have been great on the road, oddly enough. Twins are a better team in the second half and a better team since the start of September. It's close, but they've been better. Pitching wise, again, I don't know if you can really tip the scales either way. I think these are both really good pitching staffs. But I didn't dig super deep on the bullpens, but the two metrics I took certainly tilt the scales toward the Blue Jays in terms of bullpen. But overall, the Twins hang very well with the Blue Jays at the very least. I think you can make a argument that the Twins have had a better pitching performance. Hitting wise, pretty much a lot of the hitting in particular sways towards the Twins. Blue Jays defense, it's a pretty dramatic difference there. But the Twins have had a lot more base running value than the Blue Jays have. But overall, position player Fangraphs war goes to the Blue Jays. Oh, there's the cat feeders, the timed cat feeders again. Going off. I don't know if you can hear those in the background. I think it's a pretty tight matchup, I think. And then again, this is what correct me if I'm wrong. I kind of threw this out on Twitter to sort of get a feel for what other people were thinking. And I don't think anybody really corrected me. But again, Chris Bassett, who's a right-handed pitcher, might be in the mix as well for the Blue Jays. I'm expecting it to be Kikuchi in Game 3, though. He's pitched really well this year and is left-handed. I think that's kind of a... But if it gets to a Game 3, I mean, like we were talking about with Kenta Maeda potentially being an opener, kind of all bets are off. And then also to sort of add to the idea of looking at season totals kind of gives you a good idea, but these teams evolve so much. You also have to factor in these games are going to be managed so much differently. These games are going to be managed so much differently in the postseason than they are in the regular season. So it's it is, even though I like to look at those and call them up, but it is tough to say how things are going to go just based off of numbers where basically a sixth of those numbers are from April, and that just seems like a lifetime ago in terms of baseball. These teams have changed so much. Emilio Pagan, yeah, props to Pagan. And what a year he's had. Harrison, making lots of friends today. We love you, man. Are you coming to Target Field, Harrison? We'll buy you a beer if there's any left. I'm not sure, though. If we have a Target Field filled with Minnesotans and Canadians, they're going to have to triple stock the alcohol on hand. Any sports bar recommendations before the game? Yeah, come on by. What was it? The Poorhouse. Come on by the Poorhouse in the Twins Daily event, especially if you're a Blue Jays fan. Bad Meme Guy asked, will Paddock be a starter again next year? That's what my anticipation would be. That's certainly how they've kind of treated him. And I know he's been pitching out of the bullpen for the Twins, but he's been pitching like multiple innings. It's always tough to say because he was out for so long, and then he's not going to log that many innings this year, Paddock. But there's going to be openings in the rotation, and why not? Why not? And could he get through a full season? I think that's going to be challenging. I think they're going to have to find ways to limit his innings. And that's going to be tricky. That's going to be tricky for him, but we'll see. We'll see. They seem to give him a longer recovery time, before he came back and pitched in real games. So maybe that'll kind of help with his recovery and help him be able to shoulder more innings next year than you would usually imagine. Do we trust Alcala in high leverage situations with him just coming back? Probably not. And I'm like a huge Alcala fan. But yeah. Varland should be in the opening day rotation. Probably. I could envision a scenario in which he's sort of this year's Bailey Ober, in that maybe they go out and acquire some more talent for the rotation and he just sort of ends up being the sixth guy. Usually you need that guy even like before spring training ends, but it just happens that this year Ober had to start the year in the minors. Either way, like Varland will either be in the rotation or like just outside. I would, like, if you're asking me to put a number on it, I would be pretty surprised if he makes less than 20 starts for the Twins next year. Louis Varland. Would you rather have Buxton off the roster or not starting? If he's as healthy as he was earlier in the year, I would rather have him on the roster. But he doesn't. I think there's a lot of people that think like if Byron Buxton's on the roster, then he's hitting fourth every game, and that doesn't need to be true either. Byron Buxton just has to be one of the however many bats you pick, one of those X number of guys good. And I think he is, because I think he fits that role of being a right-handed hitter who can provide you a good potential extra base. Byron Buxton in his past 162 games played has hit 38 home runs. And that's with him being broken all of this year. And I'm not saying that he's fixed now. I don't know that. I wouldn't expect him to be any more healthy than he was when we'd seen him, earlier. But yeah, I would absolutely think Byron Buxton would be of good utility on this roster and potentially off the bench. Because like if you have a situation, let's talk about it late in the game. Let's say late in the game, he's on the bench. There's 2 outs, nobody on, and a lefty on the mound. That's a situation where it's like, all right, we just need somebody to get an extra base hit. A home run would be great. You can't really wish for, that seems too much wishful thinking. And yeah, I understand Byron Buxton also is a big time strikeout guy for sure. But if it's in a situation where it's like, yeah, we could really use an extra base hit in this situation, I think Byron Buxton would be a great guy to have on the bench to be able to turn to in that situation. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh boy, Harrison is saying that Rocco is a good coach. Now I know he's trying to get people worked up. It's amazing how there's 30 fan bases and none of them think that their manager is very good. Matthew, I'm drinking. I would love to get some more information if anybody's got anybody on this, because I've gotten this sampler pack a few times. Brass Foundry. They are in Long Lake. I don't think they had a tap room, or they were going to have a tap room in Minneapolis at one point, but I don't think that happened. It's a really good sample pack. This is their brown ale. I don't know hardly anything about this this brewery. This one's good. It's a very I think they have 4 different beers. They're all pretty good in there. I like it. All right. Let's see. We talked about the regular season. We talked about the Blue Jays. Yeah. As confident I am confident. I do think the Blue Jays are no slouch. I think actually, if you want a good example of like why to be an advocate of this new playoff format, I think the Blue Jays are a really good team. That would be kind of the Mariners were pretty good. It'd be kind of a shame if these guys didn't make the playoffs. So even as a third wild card, this is a good ball club. Yeah, Ryan, I stopped complaining about Rocco when Guardians fans said they wish they had Rocco. That's sort of my ultimate like bomb that I drop on Twins fans who hate Rocco a lot. I'm not even saying Rocco is like some like amazing manager, but a lot of Twins fans hold Terry Francona in like the highest regard and are devastated to hear that like Guardians fans don't think Francona is that good because, again, 30 fan bases, approximately 0 think that their manager is a good manager somehow. Oh, Dangerous Man. I went to their tap room for the first time this summer, but I heard that I don't know that they're closing, but they're like going to turn it into more of a restaurant instead or something. That's kind of a bummer. Maybe it'll be cool though. Sometimes change is good. Well, I think we might pack this thing in. About 47 minutes in. That's a good one. We got Harrison kind of running the show now, so that's probably my sign to go. Thanks for joining, everybody, including Harrison. If you make it to Poorhouse, we'll get you a beer or whatever. Again, if you can make it, get out there. We got to keep these Blue Jays fans out of here. They travel extremely well. Respect to the Blue Jays fans. Passionate fan base. We got to keep them out of here. Got to find a way. If you have an Airbnb, make sure you're not letting anybody from Canada rent it out for this week. If you have any tourism sway, or if you're in the hotel industry, same thing. We got to shut that northern border. We just got to shut the state of emergency. Nobody crosses the border till Friday. Sorry. Got to do it. Find a way. So thanks for checking this out. Thanks for hanging out. I really appreciate it. We'll talk again soon.